The crowd buzzed beneath the golden studio lights, a sea of anticipation and skepticism rippling through the air. In the middle of that glittering stage stood an old man named Eli, his thrift store leather jacket creased, his trembling hands wrapped tightly around a microphone that seemed far too new for someone so worn by life. His hair was silver, his shoes scuffed, and his heart, heavy with decades of quiet sacrifices. As he stepped forward, whispers floated through the audience. "Who's this old guy trying to be Elvis?" One voice murmured. Another chuckled, "Guess Grandpa wants his 15 minutes. Eli heard them all, but he smiled gently, like a man who had lived through storms fiercer than judgment. The lights dimmed, the piano hummed, and then he sang. The first note was fragile, like a memory, but it carried something raw and real. It wasn't mimicry, it was resurrection. Each lyric poured from his soul, soaked in stories of lost love, silent nights, and dreams he had long buried beneath bills and broken promises. The laughter in the crowd dissolved into stillness. Even the judges leaned forward, captivated. His voice cracked, but those cracks were where the truth lived, imperfect, human, unforgettable. When the final note faded, silence filled the room. And then, applause. A wave of emotion crashed through the audience, rising into cheers that made the floor tremble. Eli lowered his mic, a faint smile softening his face. He wasn't here to chase fame, he came to keep a promise. Backstage, a young stagehand approached him, eyes wide. "That was incredible, sir. What made you sing tonight?" Eli's voice wavered, tender and tired. "I promised her I'd sing again before I die." "Her?" the boy asked softly. Eli's eyes glistened. "My wife. She said my kindness was my music." 2 nights later, Eli sat alone in his modest apartment, the hum of the city outside barely reaching the quiet within. The room smelled faintly of old wood and fading memories, filled with relics of a life lived simply. A chipped coffee mug, a stack of worn sheet music, and a single photograph propped on the windowsill. It was of him and Lila, his late wife, laughing amidst a dusting of flour during one of their many baking nights, carefree and full of love. Lila had always believed in him, not in fame or glory, but in the power of his voice, in the way his songs could heal, console, and uplift. But life had not been kind. Illness had taken her, bills had stacked up, and the music had been silenced, replaced by mops, trays, and endless quiet. Tonight, though, something extraordinary had happened. For the first time in decades, his voice had soared again, carrying with it all the love, regret, and hope he had stored away. A gentle knock startled him. At the door stood Maya, a young contestant from the show. Her eyes shone with excitement and reverence. "Mr. Eli," she said softly, "your performance changed me. It reminded me why I sing, to touch hearts, not to chase fame." He blinked, humbled, a lump forming in his throat. She handed him an envelope, the paper heavy with possibility. "The producers want you back for a primetime tribute." Eli's hands trembled. "I'm not sure people want an old man," he whispered. Maya shook her head, her smile warm. "They don't want Elvis. They want you." For the first time in years, Eli's gaze drifted to the photograph of Lila, and a tear slipped down his cheek. "Looks like we've got one more encore, my love," he whispered, feeling her presence beside him once more. On rehearsal day, the backstage buzz was electric, filled with nervous contestants tuning guitars, adjusting microphones, and pacing in anticipation. Amid the organized chaos, Eli noticed a young janitor struggling to carry a heavy box of sound equipment. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, gently lifting the burden and guiding the boy to safety. "Thank you, sir," the janitor mumbled, eyes wide with surprise. Eli simply smiled, the kind of smile that carried warmth and humility. "A good show," he said softly, "starts with good hearts." The producer, noticing him, scowled. "Sir, you're the performer. Let staff handle that." Eli nodded politely. "Ma'am, kindness isn't on the schedule. It shows up anyway." Throughout the day, Eli continued quietly helping others, tightening a loose cable, comforting a nervous contestant, offering a word of encouragement to a stagehand who had dropped her props. Every gesture was small, unnoticed by the cameras, but it radiated something far larger, the humanity he carried with him. Behind the calm patience of his eyes, however, a secret lingered. His health was fragile, and his doctor had warned him to avoid strain. Yet he ignored the caution. "Just one more song," he whispered to himself, a quiet determination in his voice. Maya, noticing his exhaustion, approached, concern etching her young face. "Why push yourself so hard?" she asked. Eli chuckled, a gentle, raspy sound. "Because kindness and music don't wait for perfect health. They just show up when they're needed." And with that, he tightened the old leather jacket Lila had given him before her passing and stepped toward the stage, each footfall a testament to a lifetime of sacrifice, love, and unwavering humanity. The lights dimmed, and the audience fell into a hush that felt almost sacred. Center stage, Eli stood beneath a single spotlight, his worn jacket gleaming faintly under the studio glow. Millions watched at home, but he felt only the weight of the moment, the invisible presence of Lila beside him. He raised the microphone and began to sing, "Can't Help Falling in Love." His voice trembled at first, raw and fragile, carrying decades of memories, the laughter, the tears, the promises kept, and the sacrifices endured. Every word reached deep into the hearts of listeners, stirring emotions that had long lain dormant. Midway through the song, a sharp crack caught him off guard. His lungs ached, his heart protested, and for a fleeting second, he feared he couldn't continue. The band faltered. The judges leaned forward, tense, unsure. Then, as if drawn by some invisible force, Maya stepped from backstage, harmonizing softly beside him. One by one, contestants joined, forming a living choir around Eli. His trembling voice found support, intertwining with theirs, creating a tapestry of harmony and human connection that transcended age, fame, and fear. As the final note lingered, Eli pressed a hand to his chest, a faint, fulfilled smile touching his lips. The audience erupted, applause swelling into a tidal wave of emotion. He had not just sung, he had fulfilled a promise, shared a lifetime of kindness, and touched countless hearts in a single, unforgettable song. In that moment, the stage became more than wood and lights, it became a sanctuary of love, redemption, and humanity realized. Weeks later, the world was still buzzing about Eli's performance. Headlines blared, "The Real Elvis Returns," clips went viral, and millions watched the tribute over and over. Yet behind the fanfare and fame, the quiet truth was far more profound. Eli had passed peacefully backstage that night, his hand resting gently over a photograph of Lila, her smile forever captured in silver tones. The producers honored him by establishing a scholarship, the Eli and Lila Foundation for Kindness Through Music, to support young artists who sang not for applause, but to heal, inspire, and spread love. At the finale of the next season, Maya performed Eli's iconic song. Behind her, a montage played, Eli helping crew members, laughing with contestants, quietly giving his coat to a cold stagehand. The audience watched, hearts swelling, tears streaming, as the true legacy of a man who had lived humbly yet fully came alive. She whispered into the microphone, her voice trembling, "Eli showed us that legends aren't measured by fame, they're measured by kindness." As the screen faded to black, a final recording of Eli's voice echoed softly through the theater. "Greater than kindness, that's the only song that never ends." And somewhere, amid the applause and shimmering lights, it was as if a familiar voice whispered, gentle and heartfelt, carrying one last note across the world. Musical note, thank you. Thank you very much. Musical note. The audience stood, holding their hearts, forever touched by a man whose true music was the humanity he shared.